Welcome back to Carneades.org. Today, we are going to be looking at the question, can theists be moral? Specifically, 4 arguments for the case that they can't. Now, many theists claim that atheists are incapable of being good or having good values. According to the Pew Research Center, almost half of Americans, 44% of Americans, think this. However, in this video, we're going to look at 4 arguments to the opposite claim, that belief in God or gods actually makes being a good person impossible, as well as objections to these arguments. Let's take a look. So, the first argument comes from William Clifford's seminal paper, The Ethics of Belief. According to Clifford, it is immoral to hold unjustified beliefs, as these will inevitably lead to immoral actions based on your desires instead of the truth. He offers the example of a ship owner who, despite evidence that his ship is unsafe, forms the belief that it must be safe due to his greed and sends it out on the sea anyway, collecting on the insurance payment when it inevitably goes down. If you take theism on faith, according to Clifford, you are inherently immoral. Check out our other videos on the ethics of belief for more on this debate. But setting aside concerns with that specific argument and Clifford himself, it doesn't seem to succeed in proving the full claim that all theists are immoral, just those who believe without sufficient evidence. Now, you need a second argument to the claim that all theists believe based on insufficient evidence. Some theists, at least, claim to believe based on justified evidence. If you think that those theists are justified, even if their claims end up being false, then you might think they're not inherently immoral, though much of this is going to hinge on the sufficiency of their evidence. And it's important to note that anyone that's believing not based on evidence, but based on blind faith, is still going to feel the full force of Clifford's argument. It's only those who are believing based on some level of justified evidence that may be able to skate by, if their evidence turns out to be justified. As a skeptic, I'm not sure any evidence can be justified, but you might think differently. Now, many theists are committed to the claim that only people who are of their religion can get into the afterlife, or a good afterlife, or can participate in certain ceremonies. Such belief represents a form of discrimination on the basis of religion. The discrimination argument against exclusivism claims that discrimination is immoral. Exclusivist religion requires discrimination, and therefore all exclusivists are immoral. Check out our video on exclusivism, inclusivism, and pluralism for more on this distinction. Now, once again, while the central argument may have power, it fails short of the claim that all theists are immoral, because not all theists are exclusivists. Many are inclusivists that claim good acts are sufficient to be a good person. A particular belief set is not required. Others are pluralists who allow for those who would follow their own religions to access a good afterlife. These positions have their own issues, but unlike exclusivism, do not imply that all adherents are inherently bad people, in the same way that the discrimination argument against exclusivism does. So once again, we see that this argument has force against certain theists, but not against all theists. Now, number 3, one might make the case that the organized religion is inherently immoral, and usually this is coded to a specific religion, but some reasons you might think that a particular religion is inherently immoral is they attack basic human rights, they protect child rapists, they encourage the oppression of women, they marginalize religious minorities through religious nationalism, etc. Individuals that support such organizations through attendance and patronage are therefore complicit in these immoral acts, even if they oppose them in theory. If you are giving money to an organization that's supporting genocide or rape, you are in some way complicit in that, because if you weren't giving money, they might not be able to do those things. As with the other arguments, though, this fails to meet the full burden of proof. While many theists do support harmful organized religious institutions and may be morally complicit in their harmful acts, not all theists are part of organized religion. Being a theist is simply believing in a god or gods, not necessarily being part of an organization. There are many theists who have a belief in God, but actively criticize organized religions for exactly these same failings. Once again, while this might prove some theists who support these immoral institutions are immoral, it still falls short of showing that all theists are immoral. Let's take a look at argument 4. So the final argument for the immorality of all theists comes from the claim that if deity or deities do exist, they must be evil, and therefore not deserving of worship. Those that do worship evil beings are themselves evil. This view may be drawn from a version of the problem of evil, saying that evil exists in the world. If you believe that a god or gods created the world, they must have created evil and therefore be evil, at least partially themselves. Or it may be drawn from scriptures where god or gods are depicted committing and encouraging atrocities like genocide, rape, and slavery. However, while many theists believe in a wrathful God or an omnipotent, omniscient God who is responsible for the world's woes, and in these cases may be complicit in this issue, not all theists believe this. Some believe in distant or disinterested gods. Some doubt the truth of all Scripture, identifying gods with nature, certain feelings, or personal revelation. Once again, it seems that there are many theists who could still be moral even if this argument succeeds. Now, one might further object to all of these arguments by claiming that morality is not a binary property, a powerful objection both here and to the argument that all atheists or any class of individuals are incapable of being moral. Someone can do both good and bad things in their life. You might support an immoral religious organization, but also donate large sums of money to impactful charities and live an otherwise blameless life. Requiring sainthood to be a good person seems an unattainable goal for anyone, atheist, theist, or otherwise. Even a theist that falls prey to all of the arguments listed may still end up doing more good than bad in the world. Overall, any argument that all theists are immoral seems to be deeply flawed. A stronger claim might be that certain features of theism make someone a worse person, having blind faith instead of justified belief. Subscribing to exclusivism, where you discriminate on who can get into a heaven based on their religious beliefs, as opposed to a more inclusive belief set. Supporting organized religions that have caused harm and continue to cause harm in the world. Or belief in a vengeful God or an omnipotent, omniscient God. Those things seem to be things which would lead one to be a worse person. But that doesn't mean either that all theists have such features, or that even subscribing to all such features is sufficient for someone to, on net, do more harm than good in the world from a consequentialist perspective, or be worse than the median person in the world, given that there's a lot of bad things that happen in the world. So it's hard to say that someone is objectively evil, even if they hold to all of these tenets that might make them a comparatively worse person. What do you think? Are all theists immoral? Do characteristics of theism, like blind faith or exclusivism, make someone less moral for believing in them because they support discrimination or because they hold unjustified beliefs on the basis of their own desires as opposed to justified evidence? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Watch this video and more here at Carneades.org and stay skeptical.